Hi there, and thanks for joining. In our previous video, we learned everything about the core attributes of an all-quiet incident. Now that we know what attributes we need, it's time to learn how we can extract them from the payloads we receive. So this video will be about our mapping types at all-quiet. Jumping back to our integrations payload mapping screen, we can find the latest payloads on top. Select any of those and open them in the selected payloads window to see the whole HTTP request, its structure, and the information contained. Now, let's look at the mapping types that all-quiet provides to extract that information and map it into an all-quiet incident. The simplest mapping type is static. Sometimes you don't need to extract anything. If your specific integration, for example, is always triggering open alerts and won't let you know that an incident has been resolved, you can simply type in open as static value after selecting static as mapping type. No matter what the payload says, all-quiet will always apply this fixed standard to your incident. Next, we have the JSON path. This is your primary tool for modern integrations. Since we know that the request we received included JSON objects, we can simply follow the path and extract its values. In this case, we want to get the severity, and we know that the JSON body included an object called severity level. So we can simply select JSON path as mapping type and then see the whole payload in our mapping editor. Next, we click on severity level and all-quiet grabs the value, which in our case is P1. By the way, if you're working with older enterprise tools or web services that send XML instead of JSON, you can use the XPath instead. As we discussed, severity is a required attribute in all-quiet, which expects the values minor, warning, or critical. So P1 should be mapped against critical. This brings us to the next type, map. The map type is incredibly helpful. It acts as a translator. Here we can simply define that when the incoming value is P1, it should be mapped to critical. If it's P2, it becomes warning, and so on. So P3 would be minor. This ensures that no matter what language your tools speak, all-quiet always understands the urgency. Also, we can add a fallback value if no information is included in the payload or if we forget a mapping type. This maps P1 against all-quiet critical. Finally, we have regex, or regular expression. Sometimes the data you need is buried inside a long text string. Instead of importing the whole sentence as an attribute, we can use regex to plug out exactly what we need. Let's look at the payload above. It includes a raw error log that we want to extract the host name from. So how do we do this? First, we add a new attribute that we simply will call host. Now, we can add our first mapping step. We need to select the JSON path because we need to extract the value from the JSON body object, which is error log. Now that we got the whole text, we need to find a regex that helps us to extract exactly this, the host name. In a second mapping step, we can now add a regex, so we select mapping type regex and add our regular expression to carve out the host name from the text. Now, regex can be complicated sometimes, but I figured that even if you're not too deep into regex, with a little bit of help from AI and knowing what you want to extract, it's quite simple. We've successfully exported the host name. Now, save our mapping and check the incident preview to find the host attribute at the bottom. Now we know everything about payload mapping types and how to extract data into an all-quiet incident from a specific part of your payload. But what happens if your integration receives different types of data with payloads that include different fields? To give you a little example, this payload includes a correlation ID that we extract from the log ID field in the JSON body. However, another payload might not include a log ID field in the JSON body, but we want to extract a correlation ID nevertheless. So you can see right now there's no mapping, meaning there's also no correlation ID that we can extract. Here's how you can handle multiple payload formats with one integration. Simply add several entries for the same attributes that are evaluating different parts of the payload. Simply add, in this case, a second attribute called correlation ID. And in this case, use JSONPath to extract yet another part of the JSON body, in this case, the error ID. And save. This way, our engine will simply evaluate the incoming requests top to bottom and apply the correct mapping based on the fields present. This allows a single or quiet webhook to act as unified front door for an entire suite of monitoring scripts or tools, keeping your setup clean and professional. Thank you so much for joining. As always, make sure to check out the other videos on our YouTube channel. You can also find very helpful content under docs.allquiet.app. See you soon.